Power Talk with Mbuyiseni and Ndlozi, where your voice is heard and opinion matters.
Welcome back, Bantwana Benkosi. In studio, we are privileged indeed to be honored by the presence of our Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, who we will be speaking to for the next 1 hour and 30 minutes. You are free to call in 0861-987-000 to interact with the Minister of Justice. Under this department are departments or entities like the National Prosecuting Authority, the Magistracy, the Chief Justice, the infamous, well, it's not infamous, let me not be negative, but that entity that of the PP, Public Protector. Callers were already asking about Palapal. This is the person that presides over those, including the SIU and so on and so forth. But thanks very much, Minister. Mmamoloko Kubayi, for joining us on Power Talk.
Good morning, Doc, and good morning to your listeners.
How was it? Did you have a good Easter weekend?
I did, actually.
Nobody disrupted it.
It was disrupted because I had to work on a statement.
Where were you?
Actually, I was in Giyani. I was in Limpopo, Malamulela. My partner's sister was... my fiance's sister.
So what's the process?
Look,
just for curiosity.
Okay, the process is this. I because the team, Terence and all of us, daily, it doesn't matter whether it's a holiday or what, we've got to scan what is happening in your environment. Are there issues that you must respond to immediately, you must deal with, and then you evaluate. So I see these pictures, I see this social media, everybody's sending. I go on social media about Floyd Shibambo visiting Bushiri. And I think what really triggered even my response was the articulation by Bushiri. When I listened to what he said, I said, there's no way as the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development in the Republic, who has constitutional responsibility and an obligation to the country and to the flag, can keep quiet. So I reached out to my team to say, guys, I know you are on holiday. There's a statement that we must write. And unfortunately, network kept on disappointing me, because as they send the statement for me to finally approve changes and everything, I will lose network. But eventually we got the statement.
Did you have to drive to Pretoria?
No. I was coming back that evening. Okay. So I was anyway coming back. So we were able to issue. I was still in Limpopo when the statement was issued. We had to issue it. I know some people say it's an overreach. It's not an overreach. They need to understand the responsibility of a minister in the Republic. When somebody goes to another country and reflect on institutions of democracy of that country, it's something that we must protect. We must all guard against where there is impugning of institutions. We are not saying they are perfect. Where they have weaknesses, we will. But with somebody who has appeared before court, is charged, is not allegation, has been charged formally, has been asked to plead, but ran away during a bail hearing. Because this person skipped bail. Yeah. And this is for what people must understand.
It was a proud moment.
Yeah.
When you came out and said, not in our name.
Yeah.
You will not undermine this country just because you're some rich pastor.
Yeah.
Just because you've got some protection of some sort from the official opposition individuals in this country. We're not going to tolerate that. And we're still looking for you. Very important.
No, we will. I mean, I've signed, because as the minister, and that's another thing, when a person is appearing before court, skips bail, or a wanted person leaves this country, is in another country, it's the minister who signs to the minister in that country to say, I have this person that is wanted by our system, legal system, who has a case to answer. Prosecutors are saying he has a case to answer. Please allow us to take that person back. It's the minister who does that. So I am responsible for Bushiri coming back. That's why the court will monitor. NPA is doing that work. They've been there. We monitor, and that's why the day the court judgment was done, I issued a statement to say, we welcome the judgment that they say there is a case for him to answer. He needs to be extradited. So if it was a person who didn't run away from the law, because he's a fugitive,
Yeah.
and that's what I said, A fugitive can be changed until the charges are dropped against him in a court of law in South Africa.
Well, he's going to have to face the charges of being skipping bail.
Exactly.
And for that matter, I mean, he has to spend some time being held accountable for that particular act.
He has to act for that. He has to answer for that, including the other charges. But this is where the painful part is. This incident it's not an incident without victims. And this is what, as leaders, we need to understand. When you do these activities, what are you saying to these victims? These are women who are vulnerable, who are saying, we have been violated, we have been dealt with, we have lost under this person, and we are seeking justice. So it's not a crime without victims.
Yeah.
It's not a victimless crime.
Yeah.
It's got victims, and these are South Africans. So as a fellow South African, surely some consciousness must exist for you to know that this could have been my mother, this could have been my cousin, this can be my neighbor.
Absolutely. If you've just joined us, this is Power Talk with me, Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. We are with the Minister of Justice in the House, Mmamoloko Kubayi, and we are going to speak about the general condition of justice and the state of justice in the country. Let me just give you a general opportunity to paint the picture for us. You have been the Minister of Justice for a couple of months, just over 100 days. What did you find, and have you managed in those few days? And I think there are few, but some people think that's a lot. A lot of people put themselves to 100 days sort of target. You've been there. What did you come across? What is the state of the entities? And have you managed to come out with a comprehensive 5-year plan? And maybe then take us through some of the main targets in relation to that plan.
No, definitely. I arrived in the portfolio. I think this is my first portfolio in the justice security system. I've been in, as you know, I've been reshuffled quite often. And this is the first time here. So since I was appointed 3rd December, unfortunately I had to take leave. Family compassionate leave for the better part of December. So I started work in essence in January, meeting the teams and everybody else. Now, since being there, I think it opened my eyes, one, to know the vastness of the portfolio as well. So the portfolio involves, as you mentioned, SIU is under this portfolio. Public protector is independent, but we do interact on behalf of government support and all that. South African Human Rights Commission, the judiciary, obviously, in terms of the Office of the Chief Justice, we provide administrative support. The magistrates as well, which you call regional and lower courts, we provide support. And then you've got the regulator, information regulator, with us is independent, but we provide that support, so we do their work as well. You've got NPA under us. You've got the sheriffs. I know people don't know the entirety of the sheriffs across the country are appointed by the Minister of Justice and the Sheriff's Board. We oversee that. And then we've got debt collectors. Under the minister, we've got Legal Aid Board. We've got what we call Saje, it's a college that trains judges as well. We've got Bridget Mabandla Justice College that we wanting to ensure that it's a grooming ground for legal practitioners. We interact with LPC. They are independent. They're not reporting to us. We have a link with them. And now we've got again...
LPC?
Legal Practice Council. Yes. So we provide support because we've got to be able to provide the regulations. And then we've got another board that is called South African Law Reform Council. So it's councillors that are appointed by president that actually develop, they do research, they look at the laws, review of our laws. Minister interacts with them, they approves their research agenda. So it's quite a broad portfolio besides just the day-to-day. The Master's Office, it's under the Minister of Justice. This is where you deal with deceased estates, you deal with trust, registration of trust, you deal with liquidation and all that. Then you've got attorneys' offices. So this is litigation. When you litigate against the state, we are responsible across the countries. Any litigation against the state comes to us. We've got to oversee that. So that also is under the Minister of Justice. So it's a quite broad portfolio. Now, arriving in the portfolio, as you say, we met with the team. I think it's one of the departments. I don't think there's any department that has 10 DDGs.
DTIC.
Oh, DTIC, yeah.
DTIC might,
it's got,
yeah.
I don't think there are 10.
The DTIC has
It's
too
got
many
too many.
entities, yeah.
No, DDGs.
The DDGs. I'm not sure, yeah.
Branches in the department.
Yeah.
So that's what we have, and then we started interacting, looking at what is there. I think for me it's the issue where the department has frontline services that we provide, and the fact that the judiciary is independent, but we provide administrative support. So that infusion of ensuring that things work, and I found a lot of complaints from the judiciary as I arrived, starting from infrastructure, that the courts, you find the aircons are not working, you find there is no water, electricity. So that's what I found. And then I found the complaint about the financial support, where the judiciary is feeling that the executive is not fair in terms of financing the judiciary. So that's another issue, that we should be independent as the judiciary, but how we are funded when there's cost containment measures, we get affected when we shouldn't, and it affects the issue of case backlog that I found on the portfolio. But just functioning of a court system, huge allegations of corruption, both in terms of master's office, attorney's office, at court level, especially lower courts. I don't find it quite often in the higher courts. Yeah, the magistrates level. That's where a lot of complaints are. And obviously, as the minister, I get reports from the magistrate commission, whether a magistrate needs to be suspended or terminated, communicated to parliament. We process that. So you find that. I found SIU having done a fantastic work, a lot of work, but they had almost the entire government owing them. So they said, Minister, it inhibits us to go forward in terms of our work. So that's also what I had found. So there's quite a lot of issues, but also you found men and women, an institution that, for example, DG would share with me to say, we lost a lot of capacity. They had to rebuild in terms of just appointing DDGs, where I found most of the DDGs have less than 2 years in the department. And you'd understand, in building capabilities of the state, it's one of the issues. I mean, if you have majority of your DDGs less than 2 years, I mean, it's a problem. But you find that there's been quite a number of trying to put system, for example, understanding that we've got to move from the old ways of doing things, paper areas, to digital. So there's attempts to get into the digital space and the constraints that will be there. So you find that there's quite a lot of things that are planned to go and happen. Identification of the challenges that Master's Office starting to put together a turnaround time. So there are things that when I arrived, I looked at them, I said, okay, I'm going to enhance them. For example, the Master's Office turnaround strategy. I said, I don't want you to do a new turnaround. Give me the one that you have worked on. I'm going to enhance. And I say this because it's one of my pressure points and one of the priorities I've identified. Turning around the Master's Office, being able to get a letter of authority within less than 30 days for me will be important. And that's what I want. So I've reached out to, for example, the team that is working on SARS, the team that is working on Home Affairs, because we need to interface with the Master's Office with that. I've asked them to say, can you help me with this? So they're already working on a solution for us. They will present in the next coming 2 weeks for me. And if we agree, then we'll be able to start putting that together. So that when people, because I don't know if you understand, Master's Office, when you go there, you find them wearing black, blue, in roll. And to be turned back every time, not finding help for me, doesn't even start to explain what that pain means. I get called, twice I got called by police who said, there's this senior citizen is sleeping in the police station because your office didn't help, which is a Master's Office. Now, that's why I say this is a burning platform for me. But this is where when a person passes away and has no one to take care of kids, their money stays with us. It's called Guardian Fund, where to make sure that they don't drop out of school, they can continue, and we must pay. And when that is not done, it destroys the future of this child. So, and I say to the team, I put a face to what I'm dealing with. When I solve a problem, I want to know who are these people. If you can put a face, you'll understand why it must be urgent for you to resolve it. And that's why when I talk about the work of the master's office, these are the people I think about and all that. So we're looking at that. I want to ensure that the master's office is turned around within this financial year, and we can have improvement. The bases such as Masters Online, Disease Estate Online are starting, Trust Online are starting, but the base in terms of learn and when ICT system needs to be in place. So that's what we're doing. The attorney's office, many departments complains to me that they get default judgments without even knowing that they were served by individuals. So what we did already, we have put an SOP, standard operating procedure, that I asked the Deputy Minister to lead in terms of that work, working with the state attorneys. We looked at, this week we had everybody under one roof across for the first time, and I've established what we call Justice Forum, because I want to make sure that quarterly I have an interaction with any senior manager that's heading an office across the country, so that we get what their difficulties are and we can be able to respond to their issues. So attorneys' offices, some of the challenges that the staff constrain, they don't have capacity, and these are legal people who must represent the state. So they have, one person can deal with more than 500 files. Practically is not possible for that person. So what they do, they go to courts to ask for postponements every time, because they are not yet ready to deal with the matter, to appoint a senior counsel, to appoint somebody to look at that. The turnaround of paying, especially these are black counsellors, these are black entrepreneurs who are legal practitioners appointed by government. You find that 30 days passes without them being able to be paid. That's one of the issues that we're trying to resolve, because it has an impact of sustainability of the profession, and especially those who are previously disadvantaged to remain in the profession and being able to survive. For us as a state, we are the biggest procurer of those services, and therefore if we pay, we will ensure that we sustain that. That's the second penny platform for me that I'm resolving. I'm comfortable that at least we've made, since I've been here, there's quite good progress that we've made in terms of just getting the standard operating procedure to be able to have what we call red alerts of high cases that are, because some people are naughty. They wait long weekends. They serve when they know that you might likely not to have somebody, and you will battle to get instructions, and it's an urgent matter. So we've put mechanisms in place to be able to assist. And then now the next level that we are dealing with, it's around litigations like your RAF and your medical, to help the department. So there are three high cost drivers in medical, in legal. It's subs, where they are charged a lot with what they call false arrest and all those things. People that are saying I'm going to take because they arrested me unnecessarily, then they litigate against the state. The second one is medical claims, and then the third one is RAF. So these are the three areas. With RAF, we are starting to make progress.
Road accident fund.
Road accident fund, sorry. Road accident fund, that we are getting a team within our state litigation to be able to start fast-tracking some of the processes, working together with the Minister of Transport. There's quite good progress there. And then we are getting into the medical. The law reform has done a review. They've done a research. They've presented a report. I've received it yesterday. I'll be processing it to assist Department of Health and all the provincial departments around the medical claim, because we think that lawyers as well are just being scrupulous around that area. So we're tightening the screws, and we'll do legislative reforms so that we can support the state there. We are having conversation with the subs so that we can, because part of what we are realizing is that this thing of statistics, how many, every police station must report how many they've arrested. It leads to wrongful arrests, that leads to litigation. So we want to deal with that so that we contain it. And I've said to the provincial executive heads of state attorneys, they need to also reach out to the provincial executives. I've written to them to say, allow them to present the litigation strategy to your excos as a province, so that you can understand what is your cost drivers, what is leading to litigation. And the problem, what I want to stop as well, is this thing of government just litigating for the sake of litigating, where even a case that is clear-cut, that you don't have a defense, prospects of winning, but you litigate because you've got state power. And majority of the time they're done with tenders, where somebody is just wrongfully not wanting to pay this person, and out of corruption, they just go on and litigate because it's not their personal money. And that's why we have conversations that even the judiciary must go for personal costs. So that if Mmamoloko deliberately goes and attacks Ndlozi and use the legal system, knowing that it's not their money, it's the state, they must get legal costs themselves personally, so that we deter officials for just litigating for the sake of it. So this is work that I'm putting in place and doing a litigation strategy. We are happy with Deputy Judge President in Gauteng Lambo, who has now said for litigation, civil matters as well, they're proposing, actually they're putting rules that says you must actually have mediation, because we think that that will reduce even some of these issues, because some of the things shouldn't be in court. You can have a mediation and resolve and actually agree on the terms of what the settlements can be. So that as well can assist us. So there's quite a lot of work that I'm doing. I've been visiting the courts. Basic things such as filing has not been in place. And this is naughtiness of officials.
And this is your magistrate courts?
Your magistrate courts. But even when I went to Polokwane High Court, I was not happy with the filing system. So I've raised it with them. We're looking at digitizing that system as well completely. But in the meantime, basic management, I told them that within a month, I want all the offices to have sorted out filing across the country. I don't have to arrive. When I arrive and find, because now we've agreed that they must sort it out, when I arrive and find that there isn't, we will charge them. And officials, we clear on certain things. If I may say, zero tolerance of corruption and fraud. We've already dismissed about 52 officials. Just after arriving myself, all the appeals that I've received that relate to stealing money and maintenance is dismissal. Even if the recommendation was 3 months suspension, I've made it dismissal, because the impact, when you take money and maintenance to a child, and it's
criminal.
But it's immoral.
You should end up in jail, I think.
Exactly. Some of them we've opened cases. But you know what? I got horrified when I learned that somebody literally will change a bank account for that money not to go and go to somebody else. When I went to Palm Ridge, out of an NGO that called to say, Minister, we see you are visiting. I visited Gauteng, I visited surprise visits. And then they said to me, Minister, visit Palm Ridge. I went to Palm Ridge. I arrived at Palm Ridge. It's a beautiful, infrastructure-wise, it's beautiful. Clean, everything. Your ideal magistrate court. But the human resource and the challenges of corruption, that's where the problem is. So where you do not have infrastructure challenges, then you have this human element. I mean, I was shocked when I was told to no, there's division of corruption. I couldn't believe it. I said, what do you mean? They said, no. The security guards specializes to write off or to clean your warrant of arrest for traffic. So it's known when you come Ndlozi o batla dila ka di warrant of arrest o ya ko di security. The cleaners did like a maintenance. So what they do, they go into the files as they clean. You tell them this is the file number. They go and remove a page. You give them 300 rand, 500 rand. Then the case here maintenance can't be had, because when magistrate calls for it, but the information is missing. Then postpone the case. So it's those things that you have to deal with, and we're sorting out those issues. We had to intervene in Palm Ridge, but we send a message across to say, when we find you, we're going to dismiss you.
Okay, this is Power Talk. If you've just joined us, we are spending this time with the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Mmamoloko Kubayi. It's 1000 hours. It's time for the news with Nyaka Lotefu.
This is Power 98.7. And now you're listening to Power Talk with Mbuyiseni and Ndlozi. 9 a.m. to midday. Taking your calls on 0861 987 000.
Welcome back to Power Talk. Here we have the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development with us, Mmamoloko Kubayi. What happened to Kensani?
I am Kensani.
Oh, okay.
I'm still, that's why you'd see most of the time. But let me explain. Kensani is the name I was given by my father. My mother never put it in the ID.
Oh.
So she used her mother's names, Mmamoloko Triforce. But I've kept Kensani because,
It's your daddy's
it's my daddy's
image
name.
of you. Minister, I want to now zoom into the NPA. A lot of people have that big distrust at this moment, and I think that is sort of compounded by several high-profile cases. For instance, the case of Omotoso and the many cases of big-time politicians that seem to take forever related to corruption. But I want to start in this way. The NPA's own report details in its annual performance plan the state of crime in the country, and then they've got a graph that reports that there were 359,395 cases that were reported, which they call community reported serious crimes. So let's just say about over 350,000. That's the region in that financial year. And that's on page 13 and 14. They detail that. And then they go to break it down. Murder, rape, and so on and so forth. And this is where I think your issues of Omotoso come in and all of that. But then they do something strange about conviction rate.
Yes.
Which is always in the region of 90%. But when you go to those conviction rate pages, for instance, you don't get actual numbers. They give percentages.
Okay.
And this is the same as well, if you like, with corruption. But let's start with these serious crimes. Conviction rate at high court from 2018 to 2024, it's over 90 to 80%. Regional courts 74%, and district courts, magistrate,
yes,
88%. But I'll take one case where they actually speak of real numbers. It's with corruption, and then you'll sort of get my question. The SIU report. They referred 680 cases to the NPA, 680 cases. These would be corruption cases, since it's the SIU.
Yeah.
And on page 32 of the NPA report, they'll say number of persons convicted of corruption, 90% conviction rate. Then they have a column where they say the number of persons. 334 corruption cases that got convicted. 680, that's just SIU
without the DAPIC.
Yes, or whistleblowers.
Whistleblowers and all
whistleblowers, they've got over 3,000 cases that get referred to them. There seems to be this constant disparity in reporting, which gives the impression that the NPA is doing a whole lot of excellent work. They are able to take cases, convict people. But you see the disparity of the numbers. It's just in comparison to SIU, 680 versus 334. That's less than 50%. And then if you add whistleblowers, if you add, the same disparity happens with rape, the same disparity happens with murder and other serious crimes. They've got a column on trio crimes, which is case in transit and all of that. Yeah. They've got columns on
GBVF separate as well.
No, but there's that one of
sexual
assault with grievous bodily harm. It's particularly high.
Yes.
Conviction rate, if we were to revise that conviction rate, the NPA is performing at almost about 10%.
Not necessarily.
No,
let me explain.
If you were to do the proper math.
No. Let me explain. Remember what gets reported. That's why it will be that you investigate, you report to the NPA to say this is what we believe that we've investigated. But what you report does not necessarily translate into a case that ends up in court. And there will be different areas. So it has to be that the issue, you look at the stats from a point that NPA will receive these cases, will evaluate. Some of them get sent back to say, okay, we've received this. For example, in SIU, they're saying these are the cases, but these are the gaps from a prosecutional point of view, success, the rate of success that we see will end up not being the one. Let me come back. And for me, when I got into the portfolio, this is where I paid attention, because I say to them, the stats should not be about enrollment of cases.
Yes.
The stats must be about conviction, because that's why you would have these cases enrolled, thrown out of court because they continue postponing, looking for evidence. And my issue is that stop enrolling, go investigate and complete the work. When you are done, because there's an area IDEC in SIU, and as we say, corruption cases are within where we have control. SIU can do the work, do investigation. If they have not done enough work, send it back. Hawks will do investigation. If they've not done work, you can, and then you can decide that no, we're not going to enroll. You sit with them and say, we are not enrolling this case until all this information is here. We have a solid case that we'll take and prosecute. And that's what I took up when I arrived.
I want to make a different case. If over 300,000 serious crimes are reported annually, and then your prosecution, the way you measure yourself as the NPA, it's these numbers that I'm speaking about. We have convicted 1,000 people, 2,000 people. Surely there's something wrong in the system.
No,
300,000
where I can't justify Mbuyiseni is that the performance of NPA is not where one wants it. That we've had the conversation. When you look at the numbers, that there are areas that we should be able to do well. Even I'll go to sexual offences because we've really drilled with it across. So we've gone to stats with SAPS, we've gone to stats with the actual courts where we have the records as justice, we've gone to NPA. There are disparities. Yes. And then the other one will say, no, on one case we're reporting if there are 4 suspects, then it's 4 with the police. This side will have it 1 when it gets to the court and all those things. But there's disparities, and that's why if you look at the statement by the Justice Cluster on GBV, will say we need to ensure that the standardization of statistics, it's a problem. But where I want to raise the issue of performance at NPA, and one of the issues has arrived was that I asked, why are we not doing what we are supposed to be doing? Why there's an outcry? And one of the examples I made, I watched the Amabungani's interview. There was a full interview, Amabungan, and I had time because December I could sit and watch that. Before even I arrived in the department, I went and watched what they've said in the portfolio committee, what members of parliament over time they would have raised when they appeared. And when I sat with the NDPP and the team, I said there are these areas of concern I have. The image of NPA in the public domain, it's bashed. That I can't deny. People don't have the confidence they're supposed to have on NPA's ability to be able to do work. In other cases, it's unfairly. In others, it's genuine. Because when people see these cases, I say, when one person is raped, and like Omotoso case, the weight of that case alone carries a number, 100 of conviction of crime. Because it's too emotive. It portrays what we are trying to deal with in the country. And then you have corruption. I said, if you do not be able to prosecute one case, for example, out of the Zondo Commission report, people believe that.
Let me help our conversation. Let me help our conversation. You and I agree. NPA has serious deficiencies. It needs to be strengthened.
Yes.
I want to start with rape, and I want to just take a listen to the
and
magnanimity.
I'll come to what we looking at what we want to do.
Yes. Yeah. Listen to the magnanimity of the impact with which a high-profile case of Omotoso has on the victims of sexual violence. Just listen to one of our callers.
I'd like to ask, what exactly is justice according to him? Because we're saying justice for Kwekwe, that we have the Omotoso trial and the NPA is just failing us. I want to understand the role of the state, because they're supposed to be protecting us as women. I was raped. They didn't protect me. I didn't report this case, and I'm glad I didn't. Watching that trial, that is basically the state is failing to protect us. The state is failing to put a good case forward. So what is justice according to them? I want to see, if we're saying justice for Kwekwe as well, what would that look like? Because as it is, it's very sad to say, but I don't think that child will even get justice in this justice system that we have. Because the same NPA that will be presiding over that case, and they will they basically let us down again. They keep on letting us down over and over again. And when we do have these marches, the president will come out and make a million promises. I remember when there was the girls from Cape Town that got met at the post office when there was that march. Came with a lot of promises that they would even change the Criminal Procedure Act. And here we are today. The same thing over and over again. And then they'll come out and say, if you're a rape victim, come out and report these things. For what? For humiliation, for you to be the face of rape. Because that girl, Cheryl Zondi, the moment we see her, we just think rape. But she's had a life before that, and she will continue to have a life. She will try to have a life after that. But now she's branded. She's the face of rape. That man will walk free. She just gets asked how many centimeters it went in. Is that what we think is justice? Is that then maybe we should not do anything about these things? Maybe we should find ways to heal ourselves and move on, because the government is basically taking us there, humiliating us, making a fool of us, and then the guy walks free. Then you just get branded. That's all you get from this whole process. I don't think that's what we want. And we should have an honest conversation about this.
Pearl, you just broke my heart. Just broke my heart. But thanks for sharing. Thanks very much. And I'm sorry for your ordeal.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
At least mine is dead. He didn't go through the justice system. He died after some time. So I got my justice, at least.
That's possibly, Minister, what many women, when they look at the Omodoso case, feel. And that's what I think those numbers should mean. When a lot of women go to police station, name their abuser. The NPA says it's got a 90% conviction rate, and this is the feeling across the country that even when we report, we are like Omodoso's case, but generally our cases don't even make it to the courts. Firstly, what are you going to do with the Omodoso case? And then generally to fix the system of the fast prosecution and the prosecution in terms of volume of sexual offenses. How are you going to fix that?
Yeah, look, I really understand that comment. Not only that, because I received calls the day the judgment was issued from mothers of those kids. One, I think the following day, attempted suicide. And another mother called that her child, since the trial, it's actually the nephew, that girl went to stay in the streets in Durban. So, and this is what I say, Ndlozi, there are times where you can't even begin to say, I understand, because I don't think we understand. We can put ourselves in the shoes of those young girls. I don't think so. Because the fact that that child left home in Eastern Cape to run away and stay where is not known, but leaving the family, comfort, everything to stay in the streets, we're losing these children. And that's the magnitude of the problem that we have. Now, I asked for Omodoso review in terms of the powers that the minister has. I received the report. I told NPA the report is not sufficient. The report was substandard, I think I must say.
What did it say?
The report was just what we've received. We were not aware. We didn't think that this would be a problem. We thought we put the case forward in the manner that we should have. We didn't anticipate this, and we're still studying the records. I think they issued a statement this week. I told them that's unacceptable. It's insensitive. Because the statement says to us and to me as the minister that we've appointed a senior counsel. This is more than 10 days. You have appointed a senior counsel and therefore you are going to review the case. That's unacceptable. And that for me, it's not what we expect of an efficient system that functions. I can't defend that as a minister. And I was very clear that I'm really disappointed. Because I expected by now that will be clear whether we are going to look. But again, the issue is that they've got to look in terms of current procedural act, criminal procedure. I think the caller was saying we've committed. They've got to look at whether in law. So the impact of losing a case is huge because it might not be able to be appealed. because the current system says if I've been raped and the state, so it's a matter between the state and the accuser. Now I can go and find a lawyer myself.
But there are grounds in the Omotoso case for the incompetence of the judge itself.
There are issues. That's why I was saying, when you look at the judge, I mean, the issue that we can also look at, that's why when you look at it, the judge can immune themselves from, because the judge can be an observer.
Yes, in a criminal case.
In a criminal case.
Yes.
Because the judge has an obligation to say during the proceedings, when things are not going right, to say, but then ask questions.
Yes.
Ask for intensive, or even call both parties to the chambers to say, I see that there's going to be no justice in the process in the manner that the case is done. So I've asked for all those issues. They are not in the report. To say, at what point, because I expected NPA to say to me, at this particular point, we were called, the judge raised the following issue. They're saying they've never received any issue concerns from the judge itself. So we'll look at it. And if there's a warranted case for the judge as well to go to the Judicial Service Commission, there will have to be. I think that's the issue. But let me just say, and the issue here as well, the prosecutorial team, you know, the first team was removed.
Yes.
And then the second team. And I was asking them, what happened to the previous team? They were not suspended. They continued and they were assigned to another case, which in my view is unacceptable. So it's failures of leadership there. It's lack of leadership.
How do you fix the NPA though? I mean, what is your plan inside not to have these Omotoso? There are a lot of cases of rape by people of that profile. You were just speaking earlier about the charges that Bushiri is facing.
Yes.
When we look at that case, it looks like, we are wasting time. There are so many other people of the same sort of profile in society. What would be the systemic, concrete plans to fix the capacity of the National Prosecuting Authority?
Look, the issue is in two ways. One, and I want us to take a step back. When the systems, and these people would say, as a minister coming from ANC, perhaps maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but the reality is that we had a state capture. We had institutions that were paralyzed, that were deliberately being destroyed. And when arriving in this portfolio, I saw it for myself, where professionals were not taken to work for the state, but to work for outside the state. That's part of the problem. Now, refixing that is not easy. So you've got to rebuild. That's why one of the issues that I've said, I've sent a letter to say within 3 months, I need a report because I want all prosecutors to go through lifestyle audit. Where they must explain if they are living above their means, where the money comes from. Because that's where you start. Ethical leadership and being able to read out those who are taking money, because the allegations are there that prosecutors are taking money and therefore they are selling cases. And that's why you would have, because even here, there's allegation that no, your prosecutors were bought because these people have money. There's issues of no, at some point people were threatened.
So your first measure is lifestyle audit of prosecutors.
Of all prosecutors.
Are you able to agree with the Chief Justice for the same process on the part of the judges, particularly at the magistrate level?
We will have that conversation with the Chief Justice. As you know, that the judiciary is independent itself. So what I've done for the portfolio. So anyone that is within this portfolio, NPA, I've given that instruction. I've given for the entirety of the department. So with NPA, I said all prosecutors will start with the senior managers and then we go down. With Master's Office, we're doing everyone, starting with a clerk there.
I'm smiling.
And Kubayi, with Attorney's Office, we're doing everyone.
In Parliament, you were my chairperson.
Yes.
In the Communications Committee.
Yeah.
You have to fight. What you're talking about is corruption.
Yeah.
And you were in the ad hoc committee that defended Nkandla, that went to the highest court in the country, where not only your report, but all the efforts of that committee were turned around. Give me this confidence that you are the corruption pastor.
Let me first, I've never been accused myself. Let's start here. Personally, I have never had an accusation of being corrupt.
But one could say...
And I've been in almost how many portfolios? This is my 6th one.
No, wait.
Let's
Let
go
me show
back to
you-
the Nkandla.
I don't
go
want
back
us
to
to
Nkandla.
talk about Nkandla. I want us to use it as some ethical
Yes.
norm.
Yeah.
There are people who don't participate in the defense of a sitting president because they want material gain. But they want sort of a ministerial position.
No, not necessarily. I do believe that I was appointed because I'm competent.
Okay.
I'm one of the...
You could be,
I am.
but
I
appointing nonetheless is political.
Let's be honest, Ndlozi. Track record speaks for itself.
Okay.
Track record in terms of where I've been, what I have done in all my portfolios.
7 portfolios.
Yeah. When you look at people, let's
since
start
2017.
Let's start here. When I was appointed in 2017, a lot of people believed that I'm being appointed, for example, to come and push for the nuclear deal
In the energy department.
in the
yes.
energy department. I came in when the court case Earth Life against Minister of Energy. I looked at it in terms of how the agreements were done. I was the first to say I'm not going to appeal because I think there's a case. That's one. Number two, there was an issue of stock rotation, or the stock has been sold. I came out openly to say, no, there's no rotation. There's been stock, and I actually instituted investigations against it. So there's track record of being able to take decisions that are unpopular. There's track record of taking decisions and speaking out, irrespective of who I speak out against. Both politically in my party, I'm known, and within government. So that one, I think I've passed the muster. And I'm
But
yet
are
to
you
find
willing
somebody
today-
to say to me,
Shouldn't it start, Kubayi, with, I do think with the Nkandla question, we were wrong.
no, let's start here.
I mean, isn't that the problem in
Let's-
the
let's
political
start
system?
here.
Some
No.
accepting of, hey, there, I think,
No,
since
look,
the Constitutional Court came out.
Remember, you've got to look at what has been the decisions throughout. And the problem with us in South Africa as well, we generalize. Ndlozi. This is what we said at the committee. The committee first said, the first committee round, actually at that time, all opposition parties walked out. We remained as ANC. We said, look at the report of the PP then, Tulima Donzela said, the president had acknowledged that there's some benefits and therefore can be determined of what needs to be paid. I don't know if you remember that report.
do.
And we sent it back to say, we are not competent as the parliament to determine what are security features and what is not security features. And then it was the executive that came to say, no. When they did this fireproof and to say that actually we don't determine this one to be a personal benefit because of this. And there was a crawl issue there.
Yes.
We did that. We did an oversight. Now we had all political parties. And those who served in the committee will tell you that all of us were anonymous in terms of agreeing. The report was there. What we were saying is that we can't take the entire project not to be the project that needed to be done. That was the first thing. We needed to
Let me
separate.
take,
So it's the
let me
issues.
take-
And I can stand for myself to say there are things I never said. You
Okay.
can go on record of what I have said in Parliament is available even today. Remember, even one of the issues I said as I debated.
Let me take the headlines. We're still here together. We
Okay.
have all the time. Let me take the headlines with Nyaka Lotef when we'll start from Nkandla back to the lifestyle audits. It's time for the headlines with Nyaka Lotef.
Thanks, Mbuyiseni. Good morning. In news making headlines at this hour, the inquest into the tragic deaths of 21 young patrons at Enyobeni Tavern in June 2022 resumes today at the East London Regional Court in Mdantsane. The proceedings were postponed yesterday to allow the court to view video footage from the night of the incident. The footage shows tavern manager Siakangela Ndevu selling alcohol while patrons are seen coughing and covering their faces. Tavern owner Vuyogazi Ndevu has denied responsibility.
Stay informed. Power Talk with Mbuyiseni and Ndlozi, 9 a.m. to midday on Power 98.7.
Well, with the Minister of Justice here on Power Talk, Mmamoloko Kubayi. Just 30 minutes, Minister.
Yeah.
Let's close. Because when I looked at dismissal of 54 corrupt officials, I was like, that's Kubayi. And I couldn't reconcile that Kubayi with the Nkandla Kubayi.
Look, let's start here to be serious about it. No one can stand in this country and say nothing went wrong at that time. Issues of accountability, issues of transparency of how state funds are used, and issues of just making sure that we are prudent about how we use state funds. And you'd know that over time, a lot of legislation changed, a lot of even ethics members' code have been changed, because it was recognition that we can't go on like that. Even from my political party, I mean, we came out to say this thing of collective accountability must stop. And we spoke about renewal of the organization and renewal, because that was also to say where you have, and if you can recognize after that, it was even the issue that no one anymore should go to court wearing a t-shirt of the ANC and all those things. It was recognition that as we look back, there are things that went wrong that can go again forward to rebuild the country and for individuals to be able to stand. And that's why I'm saying, as individuals that understand the oath of office that I've taken, irrespective of where, and the track record to say, it's not only about you, but you have a duty on the country, you have a duty to the flag beyond your organization.
Two matters. The sort of bail question in the courts. There's a lot of remand detainees in the system. I'm charged for stealing bread. I can't pay bail, or I'm charged for whatever petty crime. There is, I think, a category we can all agree. It's petty crimes. I can't pay bail. I go into the system. But the prison turns me because it's run by gangs. I meet hardened criminals. Then it becomes a school of transforming me into a hardened criminal. So in a sense, slow administration of justice on the one hand, the unaffordability of the bail, and a lot of people just end up in the system with petty crimes, come out because the prison is the school for hardened criminals. Is there a plan for the resolution of that problem?
No, definitely. We currently finalizing the Criminal Procedure Act Amendment Bill. Yesterday I was presenting to Justice Cluster with the team. We initially said we'll want to finish at the end of the year. They are saying to us, please push it to September so that it can be introduced and passed. That legislation will help. The unfortunate part, and somebody will ask, what have you guys been doing the last 30 years? It's an old act, 1955, that does not recognize quite a lot of things in terms of our constitution. And also, as we talk about the issue of criminal procedure, the bails, in terms of the bail regime, the arrest, and all those things that needs to be end-to-end, needs to be reviewed. So I am committing that this year definitely we will finish. Latest is December, but last night when I met with the law reform, we sort of said, let's put mechanisms and researchers and everybody on this project so that we can finish it early. So we will work towards making sure that we finish it on time. It will help in that. Honestly, it's just, I saw the numbers as well myself of many people who bail is 500, they're in prison. Bail is 1,000, they're in prison. They don't have that money. But not only that, the other regime that I want, I said to the team, I want to change, is the one where you find somebody was convicted for stealing bread at the age of 16 years old or 17 years, and they have a criminal record. And because they have this criminal record, they're waiting for pardon. So we want to change the regime so that it can be expunged, especially those petty crimes, because they end up not being able to find job because they've got a criminal record of a petty crime. They wait for 10 years, they're waiting for a pardon from the president, so I get to sign those for the president to consider and all those things. I do think a 35-year-old who's gone to school, who completed their degree, who can't be permanently employed because they have... So you're putting South Africans who are supposed to be active in the economy to remain out of the economy because of petty things that they could have done as young children, teenagers.
Safety in the courts?
Safety in the courts is a major issue.
A big issue now where these gangs are able to go and kill witnesses, eliminate people in court premises. What is the plan to make courts completely safe?
The first thing is that acknowledging the problem, we have securities in these courts, So then you find that the people do not do what they are supposed to do.
Why are our courts not guarded by in-sourced securities?
Look, we do have a ratio currently 70-30 in-sourcing, and we're trying to move into the in-sourcing a lot. But once you in-source, then finance, treasury, regard them as part of your COE. So we've reached
What is COE?
compensation of employees.
Yes.
So these are permanent because they've got patch and all that. So once you've what we call ceiling, so meaning you can't hire beyond what you have as post establishment, you can't create new posts, it becomes a difficulty. That's why we go for what your budget will be in goods and services, and then you reduce buying catering of the department, or for minister to have catering in their meetings, then you can provide for services in terms of security. So we try within the budget. We've received cut of 1 billion Mbuyiseni in the portfolio. That is a lot. It has weakened how we respond to the challenges. But again, the other issue is around the people that we employ. You know, one of the things I'm getting that we need to start doing, patriotism in South Africa. You hire a company, you give them this opportunity, they go and collapse the system. Not that there's no security, there's security. But they go and deactivate a scanner for a gun to pass. Those are some of the challenges that we're dealing with. I'm meeting the judiciary, the heads of courts this afternoon. It's one of the issues they've raised. What is it that we are going to do? Not only safety in terms of the courts.
But what are you going to do?
No, we put in security in. So we're wanting to ensure that there's a rotation, so that not one security company can be in one place. So that because we can't insource, even if you insource, when you insource, that person, if is used to knowing that this is a court that you have, they will know and give 500, give 1,000. And then eventually that person can switch off the machine. So we change it, but also we're looking at the different type of machines that we can have at courts, like the ones you have at airports. That's another issue we agreed this week to say, let's change the type of machines that we have at court. Number 3 is the issue that in high-profile cases, one of the proposals I'm making to the judiciary is that can we have virtual hearings? So that if a high-profile, like a gangster, is supposed to appear in court, because they're not threatening only those that are witnesses, they're threatening the judicial officers as well. So we'd want to say those ones, let them remain in Moda B, let them remain in Sun City, but we connect through virtual platform, they testify in court. Then that way they will be able to increase the security. So we could be able to link. So somebody was saying, don't look at high criminals, but there are corruption cases where there's a lot of money involved. Profile them as well. So some of the magistrates gave me that feedback to say, profile them. Some of the cases that you have at Palm Ridge, profile them, because somebody can come there if they're losing a lot of money, you're liquidating, the magistrate gets into trouble. But also how we build our courts. When you look at the High Court in Polokwane, that's an ideal situation. The judicial officers are having their own separate entrance, and is protected. Access to their offices and where they come in is different to what everybody comes in. So that's some of the things that we are starting to tweak. It's something that also, Ndlozi, that we would want to say to South Africans, can we work together? Because it's not only what Minister of Justice can do. When we undermine the authority of our courts, when we become accomplice to some of these things, we hire you to come and work as an employee, we hire you as a company to come and work, but you collapse our system that you tomorrow you are going to want to benefit from. I think that's what I want to appeal to South Africans, that let's work together to rebuild our country and to have the South Africa that we want.
If you've just joined us, this is Power Talk with me, Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. We have a conversation here in studio with the Minister of Justice, Mmamoloko Kubayi. I'm going to take Seedwell from Pitori. Welcome to Power Talk. You've got 30 seconds, brother.
Nda
bovua.
Arvua. I just want to pose a quick question to the minister. There's a disconnect between SAPS and the Department of Justice. When SAPS is arresting during December, actually, when SAPS is arresting people, you find on the 13th of December, the justice is closed and open in January. So I'm not sure if the minister have a look at this problem, because I think it's the one which is also costing the backlog within the system.
Very excellent question. Thank you, Sidwell. from Pretoria. We've got a voice note of a question. Please, let's take a listen.
The minister there. Regarding the NPA and its performance, at what point are we going to start calling it out and say maybe the prosecutors or the lawyers are not properly trained? Usually, if it's police not doing their job, the first thing that the public will say, even radio presenters, is that these people are not properly trained. At what point are we going to go there? It's MJ here in Pretoria, and just call it out as it is.
Thank you so much, Minister. In response to those questions, I wanted to add the TRC prosecutions. There's about 2 billion rands fund sitting with the president regarding reparations of the victims of the TRC. But there's a huge case at the moment about the fact that there was political interference in the prosecution of TRC cases. Now you've got state capture cases. There's still an outstanding prosecutorial backlog with regards to TRC cases. My questions are two-pronged. Access to reparations on the one hand, on the other, measures to deal or to address this question of political interference, whether it was there or not, with regards to TRC cases.
Okay, let's start with the issue MJ raised about training of prosecutors. It continues to be upgraded. There are areas where you find that there are weaknesses in terms of training. Remember, the cases of yesterday are not the same of today. So complexity of cases and all that. That's why we have what we call Section 38 in NPA, where we could bring specialized skills to be able to help us with those skills that are needed for prosecution. So we are attending to it. There are areas that we can be able to acknowledge. So it's not one size fits all where the problems are. On the issue of disconnect between subs and yes, courts go on recess, but they don't completely shut down. You are able to have courts operating. Like when I was in Limpopo, there was a matter that was before court during recess. So it's the issue that you can be able to process matters at the court in terms of link between the police and all that. Remember, once they arrest, it's not a matter that you can have a prosecutor must look at a case whether it's ready to go to court, and then you get a date. So people must just stop being criminals so that we don't have many.
But we must have efficient prosecutors.
No, there is.
If the criminals are going to be scared to do crime.
Yes, we will have. We are building. There are a lot of work that is being done in a number of that. Coming quickly to TRC. Yes, there is a case before court. We do disagree that there was there was interference.
Have you? Are you going to oppose?
Look, we are on case management. So there's negotiations. It's myself, the president, and Minister of Police who've been cited. Our legal teams are engaging with the legal teams of those colleagues. One of the issues that they are requesting is establishment of a commission of inquiry to determine. We're saying we agree because we don't think there was interference. If anyone has said there is an interference, we'll have to answer because we don't think so. And if there was, by who and when? We think that those questions can be answered. We've agreed to it. If there's an inquiry that is needed, we do. Where we differ with them is around the issue of what we call the compensation. That is part, we do believe that all the other issues that they're requesting, the commission can deal with it. So it's their request. We are saying that let it do. It's in the process. We have not completed. It's before the High Court as court management, that one. We've done a lot of work in those. I hope one day as we proceed, we can just have a time to talk about TRC. We were required to pay, the President Fund is under justice. So we were required to pay 30,000 per individual. That is based on the report that Parliament adopted on TRC. Those have been paid. It's only about 4,000 that are not paid, individuals out of that.
Why?
They can't be found. And that has been published. The second area is around education, funding for those victims. Funding has been provided every year. Where I have a problem is that Mmamoloko has been funded because it's a TRC. Half-a diploma is doing diploma for 10 years. Honestly, that can't be right.
Which university would allow a diploma for 10 years?
Exactly. So you find that people want perpetual funding. It can be. So there must be at a point that this child is funded, must conclude school. So those cases where they say, no, I've dropped out because I was not funded, even they've been failing. Those that are new cases that have not been funded, we do provide. The one that has been outstanding is on the houses, which I've concluded now because what was left, when I arrived here, that's the first thing I looked for, because at human settlements, I had to deal with people who were saying that TRC said we must be built houses, government has not. So we found that the regulations have not been done. I've consulted with Minister Nkadimeng, I've sent it to a team to say these are the regulations we would want to utilize. The same method we are doing for military veterans to build for the victims of TRC as listed, and then we are doing reburials. We would have seen, I think on the 3rd, I'm doing in Soweto and others. So we're doing that. The TRC team that is exhuming people who are in unmarked graves has been doing fantastic work almost every year. I think we are left with about 30 of them out of the whole number that was done. So work is being done. The inquest that you see, it's what families have requested. We continue to do. Quite a number of them are already. Some people are saying it's a waste of money. It's not, to the families who are asking for justice and answers.
2 quick questions. Here we have 5 minutes. 1 hour, 30 minutes. It's not a lot. One of our callers asked about legal aid and funding of cases at high courts. Please address us to that, because those cases often want very experienced and expensive senior counsels, advocates. They say the funding almost always ends up with regards to these smaller courts and smaller matters. I wonder what's your reaction to that. And the final one is the prosecution of your boss, Phala. A case was opened. It's sitting, I suppose, with the NPA. Will we see the prosecution of well, let's put it broadly. Will we see prosecution with regards to the Phala matter, including a sense of holding the president accountable?
Look, the issue here, let me deal with the Phala and I'll come. The issue here, which I've committed to the country, is that we will never interfere with the work of the NPA for political reasons. If NPA believes that there's a case for the president to answer, they will have to proceed. I have committed to say anyone must never expect that I would ask. I arrived in this portfolio, Ndlozi. You can ask them. I've never asked for reports. I have powers to ask through Section 33 for reports. I've deliberately not, because I want to build confidence in the independence of the NPA. The only report that I've asked was Omodose, out of public outcry, in the public interest. So deliberately I've done that. When you look at the issues that it has gone to PP has done her work and provided the report. It has gone to other institutions that have done. And if this matter is before the NPA, they will have to look at it objectively and make a decision without my interference or anyone's interference.
And then legal aid, access to legal aid for complex matters that
legal
often
aid
end
board,
up at the... like, for instance, the specific question was around appeals, where a case must go to the High Court.
I must acknowledge that it's funding issue. And it's funding issue from a point of how many people we can employ. It's funding issue of, because these are lawyers. So you can check the rate of what you can be able to afford. So currently we do have a challenge. I just changed because previously Legal Aid Board couldn't fund inquests, those who needed to appear. So we wanting to do the Galata 4, and one of the families was requesting support from legal aid, and they said the rules don't allow. So I said, no, as the minister can determine, go and fund and support this person because it's part of within the requirement. So we continue to support the families and individuals who are looking for state support in terms of availability of resources. Where we differ, and I always say where there is an issue, people must make representation, and then we will be able to look at it. It's mainly around cost availability. I think it's not necessarily that we are refusing to support South Africans. We have a mandate to support, but where we are not able to afford and the resources are limited, and that's what the reality is we face.
Final question. 5 years. You're standing in 2030. Your term of office is coming to an end. I know you successfully negotiated the increase of the budget. when everyone else was facing austerity.
Yeah.
But in 5 years, how should we measure you in relation to the performance of the National Prosecuting Authority?
Not only National Prosecuting Authority.
But I want that because that's the
Currently,
interest.
we will be, within my term of office, I will have to be able to look for an NDPP, assist the president through that process. There's capacitation. As you know now, we've got only one person who will be left by the end of the year or next year, February, on the current leadership. So we'll have to make sure that we support the president to appoint capable men and women who will take the NPA forward. 2, high rate of being able to clear the cases backlog in terms of corruption and build confidence in dealing with corruption so that South Africans don't think that prosecution in the country is for small fries and big guns can walk away, but also building the independence. There's an administrative independence that I'm working on of NPA. Currently, the DG is the accounting officer for NPA. One of the issues that I've committed to is to say NPA has to have its own accounting officer. That's the work that I'm currently doing. Support for the judiciary, because NPA will be efficient if the judiciary as well is working. As we talk about that, quite a lot of administrative work I want to transfer during my term to the Office of the Chief Justice and build capacity so that they are not subjected to the executive.
So are you saying Batoyi's term is finished next year, February?
Yes.
I can't blame me if you can, but I'm relieved. And I hope
that's not good.
Well, blame me if
but
you can.
But it's your view.
I think her performance has been the most dismal. But I hope you get somebody that will rebuild the confidence and do all the things you are saying with the necessary efficiency for the criminal justice of this country. But I wish you the best.
Thank you.
And thanks for creating time. We will do a midterm. I won't be here. I hope I'm not going to be here. But
maybe we can be guests, both of us. And then you say, this is what you committed.
In some 2 years, I hope you can come back to power and say, these were the promises. This is how far we have come. Let's travel the road.
Not only in 2 years, I hope that we can utilize platforms like this to communicate what we do. There's quite a lot that people don't know that we do as government, and the support for them. As I talk about Masters, a lot of people don't know what Masters does. A lot of people don't know, even some know legal aid, but they don't know to what extent. So there's quite a lot of work that we can support them.
Mmamoloko Kubayi Kansani, the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development. It's 1100 hours here on Power Talk. On the other side, we're going to interrogate and try to get to the bottom of the DA's claim for victory on the VAT issue. It's time for the news with Nyakalo Tefu. Stay tuned.